but I've had to do a lot of inner work to get to the point where I have this outside that matches my inside.
Hey, I'm Becca with the Happy Ever Crafter, and this week I'm talking to Amy Tan, aka Amy Tangerine, which is maybe how you know her better. And she is walking us through a lesson on how to create a vision board in our planners. I have never done this personally, and I don't know about you guys, but I am sort of scared about how it's going to turn out, but I'm really excited to jump into it. So let's do that. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Becca.
I'm so excited to have you on here. I feel like I've always been really inspired by like how bright and joyful and colorful everything you do is. So I feel like this is going to be a very happy conversation.
Oh, that's such a great compliment. Thank you.
I do have to start with a confession first though, I think. I have never in my life done a vision board.
You're kidding.
No.
And wow, well, you seem like you're very intentional, and that is very impressive to me because somebody who has accomplished so much and has really done so much of the work, not only this is just the impression that I'm getting from you, is that you've done the inner work and you also are very clear on the kind of creative projects you want to take on and what you want to do in a meaningful way. And so I'm very impressed with that, actually.
I like
Did you
I mean
What do you
it's
think
a
was holding you back from it? Do you think it's cheesy? Because I think a lot of people do.
I don't know. I've never said to myself, like, I really want to do a vision board. But like, you know what? I have been hearing more and more about it, like this past year, I've been hearing, and maybe it's just because I've been getting more into like the woo woo, like, you know, intention setting kind of stuff, which I historically have never been that kind of person, but I think this year I've started to get into it a little bit more. So maybe now I'm hearing more about it and it's just like it's starting to strike me that I've never done it and I really should. So this is going to be like perfect for me.
Wonderful. So
Yeah.
exciting.
Okay, well, we got off on a quick tangent, but can you walk us through like who you are, what you do? I sort of like I think the way I want to word this question for you is like if you met somebody on the street and you were like going to go for lunch with them, I don't know why you would meet someone on the street and then go for lunch with them, but like if you did, if they said, "Amy, what do you do?" How would you sum yourself up?
Yeah, I have actually a really hard time doing that, and I've tried to do it several times. I don't have an elevator pitch. I do a lot of things. I've had a lot of job titles in my life. I've been a stylist. I was a fashion designer. I'm a best-selling author. I am a professional scrapbooker. But I think above all else, the overarching theme is really trying to empower others to tap into their creativity because I truly believe that we all have it within us to craft a life we love. And that's actually my book title too. It's all about infusing creativity, fun, and intention into your everyday because so much of our lives are spent doing these things that we feel like we have to do and we need to do. But how often do we spend time on what will make us the most happy so that we can then be of service to others? And I love that you started it with the joyful, colorful aspect because I think on the outside and through my work, people see that side of me. And I'm so glad they see this bright version. But I've had to do a lot of inner work to get to the point where I have this outside that matches my inside. Because before, I think that I was very cynical. I was not a positive person. I would always look at the negative side of things. So I really had to do these exercises and practices and develop this sense of number one, confidence, number two, joy, number three, I don't know, a confidence and compassion towards myself and the inner work. And then I realized that it could spread to other people, and other people were so much more affected by it. And I thought it just was a simple little thing. But in working through everything, this is a long winded answer, but I think that I want to really encourage others to seek their joy and their confident side of of life and bring that to fruition.
I love that. So my question about it is, at what point did art come into the scene as you were doing that inner work? Like, was the art the way that you explored all of that stuff about yourself? Or was it like you did that exploration and then realized that art was a way for you to like go deeper with it? Like, I'm curious about the timeline of how all this stuff happened.
Yeah, when I look back on it, it's through a clearer lens. So I'm able to see that art has played a role in my life ever since I was little because my mom was crafty, so she encouraged me to get crafty. But through it, it was actually a form of therapy for me to be crafty and be creative. And even though I had the support of other people telling me I was creative, it wasn't until I made something with my hands and got not only the recognition from other people, but it sounds kind of crazy, but when I first sold something that I made, it was the validation that I needed to realize, oh, and I sort of sought my worth in it for some reason. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's probably not a good thing, but I realized that the energy and love that I could put into crafting something with my hands was actually valuable to somebody else, valuable enough for them to buy it. So maybe there were different turning points in my life, but I think a big realization was when I was in college and I was unhappy at Georgia Tech studying this degree that was industrial design, and I thought I would be really good at it. And it turned out that I would spend 8 or 9 hours on a project and come back for critique. And there would be these people who were naturally talented and gifted, and we would present our projects, and mine would, get this really weird feedback, and I would get like a C or a B on it. And it didn't feel like something that was connected to me because it wasn't something that I was genuinely that interested in and felt invigorated by. So I think at that moment I turned to crafting these formal dresses and sewing them with the sewing machine for friends of mine and realized, hey, I have a talent for making something that somebody values and they are willing to pay for it. And at first it was fashion. That was my first, I guess, love. But through the exploration of painting and then going through the process of making something with your hands, I think that in turn makes you feel like you're uh, spending time with yourself and you're really going deep within because there's only so much you can think about when you're crafting something. So, in a way, the meditative process was an opportunity for me to do a deep dive into the things that were meaningful and valuable to me.
Totally.
That's also looking back on it. That's a lot of perspective that I've had.
Yeah.
College was a
But
long time ago.
it sounds like you've always been crafty, like you've always been a crafty person, and you finally found a way to use your craftiness and also like help other people explore theirs, and I love that.
Totally.
Because I've seen this, and it wasn't something I ever like set out to notice or like to explore, but just in teaching people calligraphy and lettering, I've noticed this really strong trend with people who say that they started doing it as like a meditation or like an anxiety relief or something like that. And I just think there's so much room for people to like explore more of that about themselves. I just think it's great that you're like, you're the, what's the word? The like catalyst for people to start doing that, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just think that people just need permission. And when I was given that permission slip at different points in my life, I remember in high school when everything's very awkward. I had made a move from Chicago to Atlanta. I wasn't feeling comfortable in my own skin. And a couple of my good friends wanted to have this notebook. So we passed around this notebook and we wrote encouraging words and quotes that we loved. And we did some fancy lettering and played with markers and colors. One of my friends still has that book from high school. And it was such a treasure to be able to share in those moments and to realize that the things that we feel like are not that big of a deal, nice handwriting or writing some quotes down that we find inspiring, can really change somebody else's life and influence them in a really positive way.
Well, and even like just writing them down and being intentional about noticing them and stuff can change, you can change your own life. It doesn't have to be for somebody else, which is the perfect segue into what we're going to be doing. But before we get there, I have one more question about like the timeline of your life. At what point did the scrap box behind you come into your life? Because I feel like we can't, it's like the big elephant in the room, except it's the big scrap box in the room.
Right. So I have only been with this wonderful being for a year. And when it came into my life, it was at a time where I felt like my studio definitely needed a little bit of help because I'm one to really find a way to make projects happen no matter what the circumstance. Okay. So if I, for some reason, want to journal or even scrapbook on a plane, I will make that happen on a tray table. So I can go from the essentials, taking them on a trip with me and finding a tiny space to work with, or I can have something like this where it can house all of my supplies. And I have a YouTube video that maybe you could link, but when it came into my life, it truly changed the way I looked at my art supplies and everything that I had, because at first I didn't display all my stuff, but I knew where everything was, but nobody else did. So my studio was a disaster because there would just be piles of things, but I knew exactly where everything was. And to make this a dream box come true was an opportunity for me to really go through and find the things that I wanted to create with and put it in a way that was displayed in an inspiring way. And it makes you want to come in here and start doing something with your hands. I have people who claim they're not creative, which I believe everybody is, but they'll walk in here and they'll just be mesmerized by what's in here. And it's a great organizational system. It is amazing that I literally did not buy anything additional to put in here. I had everything that was already in here.
I feel like I could fill up multiple of those with all the amount of like I need one. And the number of times I've been tagged in the video of that thing on Facebook, I'm like, they are getting so close to having me pull the trigger on it. It just wouldn't fit in this room. So whenever I get a new house, that thing is going to be in it.
Well, you know it folds up into a cabinet.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
table, you can stand or you can sit at it. So
Okay,
that's what I love
just
about it.
so everybody watching is clear, this is not a scrapbook ad, or a scrap box ad, but it could be. Like, we should just tag Scrapbox in here and be like, listen, the Happy Ever Crafter needs one of these.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
You
well,
definitely need a dream box for sure.
okay, I will. I'm on it. But I think we should just jump into your lesson because it's gonna be, it's like I said, it's gonna be good for me. So I'm gonna maybe just do it alongside you, or like come back to this later and do it. But I think that's why people are
Wonderful.
here. So let me get my face off here and we'll jump into that.
To begin intention setting and creating your vision for your mini vision board, we are going to need some magazines. Let's go over the supplies that you should probably gather. I highly recommend just going through what you have at home. I don't think that you have to go out and buy some. This is something that comes with our Sunday paper. JC subscribes to this. You know, we also get Real Simple. That's mainly for me, but there are other magazines that you might have just laying around, or you can look through your mail even. So gather some magazines together. You'll definitely also want a pair of scissors that you like using and a glue stick, or you can also use a tape runner. These are the basics that you need to make this happen. You really don't need too many supplies, which is why I love this exercise, because you can use random scraps that you have. And also, if you're in the market for learning more about wellness, then you'll want to get the magazines that appeal to you and really help promote the things that make you feel good, because that's what it's all about. The reason we're doing this intention setting is because we all have it within us to craft a life we love. So let's get it together and really do something for ourselves and deep dive and give yourself permission to take the time to do it. Also, another great thing about this is that you can add your own favorite supplies as well. This is my travel watercolor set, and you don't have to feel limited to just the words that you find in magazines. You can easily grab watercolors, pens, markers, all the art supplies that you love, and infuse those words that jump out at you that may not be in the magazines that you've gathered, and that's okay too. Something that I wanted to show you was my vision board from, I think this was 2 years ago, so it's a big one. And the reason I decided to do smaller ones is because I didn't really like the idea of having this out. I wanted it to be one of those things that I looked at, but it didn't overtake the studio. So this is actually pretty large, and it is on foam core that I used to shoot my backgrounds on, and you can see that some of it is lifting up, but I think that there were definitely times where I gathered some supplies and just taped them on here. I found different magazine things, and obviously I wanted to infuse some color, so we'll basically be building this. I'll show you how I build it in a smaller format because I really like to have it with me too. This one was one of the last big ones that I have made, and I don't know that I will go back to a bigger format like this. I really want to keep it with me, so the smaller notebook is what I'm going for. Something that you also can start to do as you gather your magazine scraps is put together a little binder. So this is something that I have tried to do numerous times, and because I sometimes cut out or tear out magazine pages, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it, or I don't have a place to put it right away, then I stick them in here. And this is one of the Avery binders that I have in sections with tabs. So words and phrases go into this page protector, and there are some ones that I have cut from years and years ago. You can take some time to either gather them together or really just make something happen, which is why I think I love the smaller format so much, and that's the reason I have switched to that, because a lot of the things that I want to put in here are smaller sized, and also because you can make your vision statement or board as small or as big as you want. There's no rules when it comes to how you would like to present it, and it can also just be for you instead of being something that's on display for everybody to see. You do want to keep it somewhere where you can take a look at it, but this can be something that's just a private exercise that you do just for you that maybe nobody even sees. Why did I take this one? Maybe because of best? Oh, look, there's articles. So the good side of tech, right? So I think there's a ton of things in here. Maybe I liked Tougher Spirit, I'm not sure. But there was a reason that I had cut it out. And if you feel organized enough to rip things out and you don't really know where you're going to put them, then I suggest doing something like this. Or just go ahead and be brave and take those scissors and cut them out and just get them onto your paper with your glue stick or your adhesive right away. So this is just a mix of the categories. True to you, I think that's why I did that one, maybe. Sometimes you have to look at the other side. Proof that a car you really need can also be a car you really want. Proof that what you really need. So there's another thing that I like to do, which I will show you as we go through the process, is making up your own sentences with the words that you can combine. And it's a little bit of making it up as you go, but you'll figure it out. And so here's a people category. I liked the way that looked, but I don't think that I want that on my vision board necessarily. So I love that. Women run the world. Anyway, this is what you can gather, and I highly recommend a little system of storage, or if you don't want to do this, then we can just dive right in to flipping through your magazines, which I think this process is really quite great. So what I actually do when I first get a magazine is I will look through it with the intention of knowing that I will probably tear it up at some point. So sometimes I will bookmark pages, but I love this no boundaries, or actually I want to set boundaries. So I'm going to simply tear this out first, and then I will set it aside. And I'm probably going to make sure that as you go through this video, I can explain some of the things without having to just go through every single little detail, and I'll probably fast forward this so that you can really enjoy the messaging that's coming together and my thought process without having it be a 2-hour video. As you're tearing through the pages in search of what resonates, please keep in mind that vision boards can look incredibly different from person to person, but the primary idea is to gather all your hopes, plans, visions, and dreams using pictures, magazine clippings, words, photos, and more, and compile them in a beautiful way that represents your intentions, goals, hopes, and wildest dreams. As I was cutting out this saving grace, I read what was below it and decided I wanted to cut that out as well, but I accidentally tore through it. In the past, I would have been quite upset about this, but instead I simply grabbed a piece of clear tape and stuck it onto the back. Don't you wish all of life's fixes were that easy? Just put a sticker on it. Washi tape will repair it just fine. You crafters out there know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, so back to your intention setting and crafting your vision. Maybe you aren't sure what that looks like for you just yet, so I invite you to really have an open mind and an open heart as you flip through the pages of your magazines, mailers you receive, any papers you might be going through, and repeat in your head a few times, 2020 will be my best year yet, or whatever mantra you feel like expressing, but make sure it's positive. If you're determined to make that the reality, which mine is 2020 will be my brightest year yet, and you can put it out into the universe. I know that might sound a little woo-woo for some of you, so you can feel free to replace it with any word that you feel comfortable with, source, spirit, God, or even simply say intuition. You're basically making a declaration that you'll make this year better than the one before it. In walking through the process with an open mind, if you haven't tried it before, I believe you'll be able to further tap into the things you want to bring more of into your life. And if you've done this before, but it's been a while, or you do it on the regular, then you know and have witnessed what can come to fruition and how your life can feel elevated when you've made something like this. You'll begin to see subtle shifts at first. Maybe it's the way you're speaking to yourself or the kindness that you're accepting from others. There's so much amazing growth and meaningful change ahead if we're willing to pause and give ourselves the gift of this time to really connect with what we want to call in. It's all about crafting intentions and building out measurable, doable steps to achieving them. Today, though, we'll be focused on the grand vision on this next year and new decade. Whenever I've created a vision board for myself, the process has been one of the best ways to start off a new period in my life. Thinking about your goals, intentions, wildest dreams, and wishes is a super powerful way to tap into your life's purpose. It's given people a beautiful way to connect with themselves. I'm in the continual process of simplifying, downsizing, and streamlining the amount of things I have around me, and making a giant poster every single time I feel inspired to articulate my visions isn't necessarily the most practical, so I found a way to make a mini vision board in various notebooks and even my planner. In fact, as you are cutting these words and pictures out, think about places some of them can go. They can really go into any notebook or onto any piece of paper that's any size. So if you have a journal or a gratitude log, or you're wanting to start something, these are good things to have sprinkled throughout the pages. When I have these mini vision boards in a smaller format like a traveler's notebook, planner, or sketchbook, I really love it because it's enabled me to bring my visions along with me. I pause this here because I think this mantra manifesto is pretty cool. It also helps that because it's smaller, the project is a little less daunting and a bit more freeing. You're not tied into having this huge poster that you need to fill up and feel the need to do. If you obviously run out of space in whatever format you're doing, feel free to create another one or make the little binder where you can keep all of your scraps and other clippings for a future time. All right, that took a while. So if I had just done this video with you the whole time, I would have had these clippings and it would have taken almost an hour to get to this point. So I'm going to cut them and bring you back to the screen where most of them are cut in a way that I am ready to use them and get gluing down on the paper and setting up the page, which is part of the fun process. Even the process of seeking out the sayings and the words that are resonating with you has power. Take a look at how you're even reacting to both the positive and negative words and phrases that you're coming across. Are you being snarky or mean in your tone? Is that something you really want to invite more of into your life? Keep in mind that our thoughts are really powerful things. And in the past, when I have ruminated on something negative or something sets me off in the morning in a negative way, the course of my day is usually headed in a downward direction. These things happen, but while we are going through this process, perhaps allow yourself to be a bit more gentle on yourself, give yourself grace, and try to seek out the goodness that is inevitably all around you. This is a great gratitude practice too. As you're going through the words that you've gathered and are ready to stick down, you can also glean and write down sayings you've spotted. I have a different idea for the future looks bright. So instead of cutting that out, you can see that I chose to write it using a Tombow marker. I'm sure you have some favorite supplies like markers or even paints that you've been wanting to use more. This is a wonderful opportunity to do so. Splash some colors in the background. Feel free to put your own touch on it. Some of you may be feeling nervous at the gluing down or the committing stage, and that's perfectly okay. Take a deep breath and allow yourself to really shine a light on what you want to invite more of into your life. And also think of this process as a way to combine all of your efforts and hard work to make sense of the things that you have found, the words that you've accumulated, the images that you've sought out. I love this typewriter and I'm sticking it at the bottom because I want to feel more inspired to get words and thoughts down on paper. You can also see on the left side, it's all about that image of the girl sitting there and she seems very zen and at peace. So I really want to invite more of that into my life and realize that I'm surrounded by plenty of color, bolts of brightness, plenty of sunshine, and I really wanted to highlight the power of light because I thought that light was going to be my one little word for 2020, but I decided to go with bright instead. I want to resolve to feel lighter and brighter. I think it's better for you. And as you're moving these pieces around on yours, keep in mind that it's going to perhaps turn out a little bit differently than you first expected. You can look at the sizing of it before you commit to gluing. I really wanted to put the happy inside somewhere on that side. The right side is going to be more collaged with words, as opposed to the left side is really about finding the images and words that can be centered along the middle going down. And if you need to trim things, you can definitely do that. You can add messages. You can glue down the ones that you really know that you're going to commit to, and the others can be placed later on. Sometimes you might find that you wish you had made room for other things, and that's okay too. What I realized is I didn't want to overcrowd the left side. I'm going to stick with leaving a lot of this colorful side as minimal as possible. And when I say minimal, I mean that's minimal for me. Your standards might be completely different, but I want to express that this is for you and it's an exercise that only you can go through. So take your me time, find the next best thing for you or the next big thing for you, and make some different sentences, cut apart some words. Here's that piece that had the tape on the back. Experience the greater clarity of mind, better digestion, more radiant health, inner peace, and the sense of well-being. But I didn't want better digestion there. Not that that's something I don't want to experience, but I just didn't want to focus on it. And I have pretty good digestion anyway, so knock on wood, we're okay there. So I really want to emphasize that cutting apart these words, structuring these sentences in whatever way speaks to you is a process that's worth going through. I hope you feel inspired as these words come together on the blank page and feel fulfilled and energized by what you are creating and cultivating. It's a really wonderful thing that you're doing. I also wanted to just show you my planner that I'm using for this year, for 2020. It's my collaboration with Archer and Olive, and this is where I put down stickers and I started decorating, but I wanted to also be able to stick magazine cutouts around this page too. So all the stuff that I see and have collected, I can put into these pages, and you can have different notebooks where you collect these types of sentiments, and even throughout the weeks and months, you can include these cutouts at different places in your book and journal or planner as well. Perhaps you've also found, as you're going through these sentiments that appeal to you for one reason or another, there are themes that are forming. Maybe you cut out a lot of photos of a home that you're hoping to have one day, or you've cut out a lot of beach scenes and sunsets. Perhaps you're seeking some vacation time for resting and relaxing, or maybe it's relational and the words are pointing you in a direction of seeking more meaningful connections with people around you. It could be friendships or a partner or even a deeper relationship with yourself. Sometimes you'll find healing in making these associations and grouping themes or areas of focus together. You may even realize you were intentional about cutting these out from the beginning. Infusing more of what you want into these pages may not change your life completely in a short period of time. That takes a lot more than just one little exercise. If you're seeking change or shifts in your life for the positive, consider this a great step towards the future that you envision. On more than one occasion, my vision boards have largely come true. You've been granted permission to express yourself in a wonderful way that's unique to you. Cultivate a present state of awareness and happiness that lives within each day. Every time we infuse the ritual of putting words down on paper, we are collecting proof of a good life and sharing our gratitude as an invitation to call even more of what we want into it. When we create this space and allow ourselves to be intentional, the possibilities are endless. Being thoughtful around this and having good thoughts leads to good feelings, which empower us to take action to get the results we want. So that's it. This feels like a good stopping point for this spread. I hope you feel inspired to start on yours soon and that you enjoy the process of intention setting and creating your vision for what will hopefully be a bright and wonderful year.
Okay, so Amy, do you do these vision boards every single year?
Yes, I actually do them often and throughout the year as well, because I think it's a great framework for centering yourself and really doing a deep dive into the things that you want to invite into your life.
Hmm.
If we're not intentional with it, and people have different methods of doing it, I find this really validating. And also, it's kind of scary because I've come across my older ones, and everything on those vision boards has come true. And I've seen the power of friends doing it as well and what has happened in their lives. And it's not an immediate shift, it's not some magical thing that you can just do this practice and do this process and then something, you'll win the lottery, right? That's not what it's about. It's really about sitting down, giving yourself time and space, and really being intentional about what you want to call into your life and what you want to let go of too, which is something that I didn't realize. But in the process, you are saying no to the things and saying yes to what you want more of.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I'll do this exercise and maybe in 1 year from now I'll have you back on here and we can go over what did or didn't come true on my vision board.
I would love that. And I think
Mm.
that you can also be specific and look at the big picture as well,
Mm.
right? And I think it's really more of a feeling that you get that you want to uh, not accomplish, but how do you want to feel throughout the process, right? How do you want to feel this year? And pinpoint those things, because I've had people who have done vision boards where they actually literally cut out pictures of what they want their house to look like, what they want their husband to look like. And
I think
sometimes
that's
it
the image I
happens.
have in my head when I hear vision board. Like that's what I thought of before we did this lesson today.
Yeah, it's really more about extracting the words and all the other good stuff,
Yeah.
not the cheesy stuff.
Okay, so speaking, like you said something about crafting like the year that you want, and I know that you have a course on that, which at the time that this video is going live is currently on, right? But can people still join it even though they're late?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of those classes that just launched at the beginning of January. So if you're coming in, there are 6 weeks. There's going to be wonderful lessons, a lot of video, a lot of showing you the process of walking you through, doing deep dives, printables, all kinds of yummy information that you'll be able to access through the rest of the year. It is a 6-week course, but you don't have to do it each week. So a new lesson will be
Okay.
revealed each week, but you can play catch up whenever you have the time. I have plenty of people saying, I'm not going to be able to do this until the summer or spring. Is that okay? Whatever season of life you're in, if you want to watch it all the way through at the end, feel free. If you want to just join in wherever, yeah, it'd be amazing.
Okay, cool. So I'll link to that down below for everybody. So anybody who just did this vision boarding lesson or saw it and was like, I like this kind of thing. I want more kind of joy infused, artistic, creative things. Go see that. Okay, Amy, before we jump off, I do this with all my guests, just a lightning round, speed round of questions. Okay, you have to answer them like, I mean, not like that fast, but like fast
Okay.
questions. What is your weirdest habit?
Oh goodness, I pick my cuticles. It's so
Mm,
bad, but I have to get my nails done because if I don't, I pick them. So
okay.
gross.
There's definitely grosser things in the world than that. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I'm a morning person. I wake up very early on my own and
On
I
your
feel
own?
happy and refreshed. Yes.
Okay, so like
5:30.
I call myself a morning person because I wake up at 5:30, but it's like not easy to get out of bed at 5:30. I don't want to. So
Hmm.
you legitimately want to get out of bed at 5:30.
I don't want to get out of bed, but I have my little morning practice that I like to do. And then usually by 6 o'clock, I'm out of bed and at the day.
Do you eat meat?
Yes.
How do you like your steak cooked?
Medium rare.
What's worse, laundry or dishes?
Dishes.
What is the last meal you ate?
Gosh, what did I eat? Oh, this morning I had an acai bowl and a smoothie and one hard-boiled egg.
Wow, that's very healthy of you.
The acai bowl was new. Oh, I also had a piece of bacon.
Okay, well,
It's about balance.
when you go to the store and you pick up a new pen to test out, what do you write or draw?
Hello.
Classic.
I know. And then I usually do hello, lovely.
Oh, that's better. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And you leave it there for the next person to find.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What is the last book you read?
Oh, wherever you go, there you are. It's actually an old one, and it's by John Kabat-Zinn, and he is just really an amazing philosopher and tells you about being present and reinforces that, like, wherever you go, there you are, right? And at first, I didn't really love that quote, but I really enjoyed the book.
That sounds like something that's aligned with your whole philosophy on on being. Ooh, this might take you a second to think about, but I love this question. What is something you hate that everyone else loves?
Ooh, that is a good question. I try not to, I know this is going to sound a little cheesy, but
I
I
know what you're gonna
really
say.
try not to hate things because my dad told me a long time ago when I was a teenager, I said something like, "Oh, I hate onions," or something, right? Or I hate bad drivers. And he said, that's really harsh. You can say that you don't like something or you strongly dislike something, but hate is a very, very strong word. And I want you to understand that the less you can use it, the better. And the opposite of hate isn't actually love. It's you don't want to even come close to hate. So try not to do that. But
Okay, what's
yeah, so I
something
think
you strongly dislike that everyone else strongly likes?
that's so crazy. What's an example? What would you say?
So like soccer, or that's my answer. But
What does
one
that
of my
mean?
guests, like I don't like soccer. I wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't want to play it. But most
Oh, okay.
people like
Okay.
soccer. But one of
Okay.
my guests recently said he doesn't like the mixture of chocolate and peanut butter, and most people do.
Oh, okay, I know. And I know this is a silly answer because I think that most people like peanut butter and jelly
Mm,
together, and I have never taken more than a bite of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
okay.
I only used to have just jelly or just peanut butter, never together. But I
Okay.
love peanut butter and chocolate together.
This brings me to one question that's sort of related to that, that isn't normally on my list, but it just peaked in my head and maybe I'll add it for the future is, are you a person who mixes your food on your plate or do you eat one thing at a time?
I like to mix, but I don't like to mix it all together. I like to craft the perfect
Yeah.
bite.
Okay.
So my last bite, don't mess with me if you're taking away my plate at a restaurant and there's just a little bit left. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to finish it in the way that I want.
So to no surprise, you're very intentional about the way that you eat. I love
I
it.
know what I like.
There we go. Well, Amy, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure to finally actually get to meet you. And I was right. This was a joyful conversation.
Thanks so much, Becca.
So I will link to everything and your course down below, but can you just fill us in on where people can find you? Where's the best place for people to find you?
Yeah, I'm at amytangerine.com. I'm Amy Tangerine on Instagram and YouTube, and we are offering your listeners and viewers a discount code, which
Yeah.
I want to include too, which is just Becca10, Becca10 for the course. And I also have a podcast called Craft a Life You Love, and I'd love to have you guys have a listen and come say hi on all the socials.
Awesome. Sounds good, Amy. Well, thank you again so much for coming on, and maybe I'll see you again in a year to go over my vision
I would
board for
love that.
2020.
Let's do it.
All right. Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye. Your
I realized
lesson.
that I didn't even open this half. Okay, and you know what's so crazy is I was like wondering why it looked so weird with the framing. I'm such a dummy.